When you train consistently and keep adding weight to the bar, your strength will increase and you feel great, almost superhuman. But what you don't know is that there's something missing from your training. A crack is forming in your foundation, and the stronger you get, the worse it becomes because you're building a skyscraper on top of a cracked foundation. And you won't know the flaw is there until something tests it. And when it does, it will break and you get injured. Most likely it won't happen in the gym. It will happen for the first time when life loads you in a position your training program never prepared you for. Hi, my name is Seth, and for years I trained heavy. I was in the gym 5 days a week, no matter what, consistently getting stronger month after month, year after year. And I felt invincible, like I was Superman and nothing could stop me. However, eventually I got into a dozen car accidents over a handful of years, and that crippled me. It was like I all of a sudden had kryptonite and I couldn't even do the simplest things. I struggled with chronic pain for over a decade and I couldn't even lift 10 pounds without shooting back pain. Even though I still had a ton of my strength, I couldn't even do simple things without excruciating pain. My neural connection was so weak that I would fill up a glass of water and it would drop out of my hands. And here's the thing, I had a lot going on, but what I learned after 10 years of studying is that until I fixed my structural integrity, nothing would change. And what I found after recovering was it wasn't necessarily just the car accidents that messed my body up so bad. It was the gap in my training, the lack of missing this important step of training for structural integrity and only training for strength, because most people will train for strength and neglect structural integrity because they either don't know what it is or they don't know how to train for it. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what structural integrity is, how to include it in your training, and I'm also going to let you know what happens when you don't. When you train the primary lifts for strength, such as deadlift and squat, these exercises are great at building strength, bone density, neuromuscular coordination, increasing your strength, and bracing your spine to learn how to lift heavy loads maximum without getting injured. However, here's the problem with these exercises. As they are good at increasing spinal rigidity, that is also a weakness in itself. And here's why. Even though you learn to brace the spine and tighten the core real well to lift that heavy load, these are not necessarily how you move in life. And so if you're not training other positions such as spinal rotation under load and strengthening end ranges, you're going to have a missing link and you're going to have a crack in your foundation. And when something exposes that crack, such as even picking up some heavy furniture and twisting under that load, when you are especially fatigued while helping somebody move or yourself, that is when the injury is going to happen. It's not going to happen in the gym where you're picking up something with the neutral spine that you have been training for years, because that is where you're strong. But here's a law called the Law of Adaptation. Your body becomes what it frequently does, for better or for worse. So if you don't use spinal rotation under load, then you are developing a weak point. And this was mine. And that is why I felt like concrete after so many car accidents, because my spine, my nervous system went in protection mode and locked it down. I could not get a chiropractic adjustment by a former bodybuilder because my mid back was so tight. I could not even bend over and touch my knees some days because of all that tension in my body. But that was because I trained for it and I was great at it, and my muscles were doing what I trained them to do. However, all this happened because I didn't understand the structural integrity. What is structural integrity? The structural integrity code is not about how much weight you can lift, but rather how much you can lift while still being in control, how you can move while being able to control the movement, brace your spine. So just like you will do a squat or a deadlift and your goal is to keep a neutral spine, if you don't train other positions in the spine, you cannot be controlled and strong in different positions. Take example for the keg squat. The keg squat, you're gonna have a rounded back. And this is the exact opposite of how you would deadlift with the neutral spine. So also when you pick something up while bending over and twisting to pick something off the ground, then you are also twisting the spine under load. And these are the types of positions that you put yourself out in when you are in real life doing real work and doing real tasks. You're not going to have that perfect neutral spine. And the load is normally not your max weight because, of course, if you're going to squat and deadlift, you're not going to do the same amount of weight if you are in a rounded spine position or a twisted spine. Mechanically, you are not at your strongest in these positions, but if you do not train them to be stronger, then they will be your weak link. They will be the crack in your foundation that's gonna break and cause an injury. There are 3 exercises that I absolutely love that help me develop better structural integrity in my spine in different positions. One of them is the gladiator deadlift, where you're twisting and picking up something just like you would with the deadlift, but you're twisting under the load. The second one is the keg squat or keg carry, because you're all front loaded. And this exercise is just like the real world where bigger things are generally heavier. They're not easy to grab. Just like you're picking up a couch or a dresser, it's gonna have to be able to wrap your arms around it and put your spine in the rounded position. And the keg does this extremely well. You can also use a sandbag as well. These are the types of training tools that strongmen use. So why would we not emulate other athletes that have learned to make their bodies stronger in other positions? And the last one is the Jefferson's curl that allowed me to have more spinal flexion in controlled end ranges under load. There are countless other exercises you can do, but I think you get the point. You need to be strong and controlled in these rounded positions and not just a neutral spine. However, don't get me wrong, the neutral spine is incredibly important. But if you only train that one area, then it's gonna be your weak link and your crack in your foundation. So therefore, make sure that you're training the other positions. Also, you don't want to neglect the core and rotation and being able to have anti-rotation, all these different areas. Your body is not just to work in forward-facing movements, but rather move side to side and rotationally. And rotationally and side to side are the areas that most people never train enough, but these are the positions that you're going to be in most of the time in the real world when you are doing tasks under load. You're not going to be stationary. You're going to be bending over, twisting, rotating. And so you want to make sure you're strong in these positions and you can control them. And make sure you're carrying stuff overhead and bracing your spine when you're doing so, or even squatting with something overhead and doing simple carries. All these different movements are going to allow your spine to adapt in different loaded positions, making you have a stronger foundation and become unbreakable. When I started doing this, then it's amazing how my body started to actually become more flexible, more elastic, and be able to move easier and not feel like concrete, and my pain started to go away. And you would think that this type of training would not have that type of effect, but when you understand the principles behind it, you can understand how when you fix your weak links and your cracks in your foundation, then your body will turn off the alarm and start functioning properly again, because pain and stiffness, all these different things are symptoms of your body trying to protect you from getting injured and doing more damage. Structural integrity is a critical missing piece in your training, but if you're like most people, it's not the only weak link. And if you don't find the other ones, then it will eventually break, causing an injury, forcing you to take months off of training. I built something to help you. It's called the Iron Body Assessment. It's going to help you identify where they are before they break. You can find the link in the description. And if this video hit home to you, hit subscribe.